Welcome to r/relationships. Here are more stories of people needing relationship advice. If you like this content, hit the like and subscribe buttons. Thank you. Let's get into it. Story number 1. Do I, 35 female, abandon a wonderful relationship, 50 male, because of baby fever? Throw away. I hope he doesn't find this. I just need a place to get this off my chest. I've been with my significant other for about 5 years and all in all, we have a wonderful relationship. I realize Reddit, understandably, frowns upon big age differences. We had both assumed we were closer in age at the beginning of our relationship, but the connection between us was so strong that we were willing to give it a shot. Fast forward today, and we have a wonderful relationship together. I know what it is to be in love. He has 2 20-something kids with his ex, and I get along with them swimmingly. I feel incredibly lucky. I have never had a strong urge to have children. Up until now, apparently. The biological clock thing is real, and hitting me like a ton of bricks. It does feel very chemical. Impulsive, really, if that makes any sense. He doesn't want to have more kids at his age, and I don't blame him. Considering both our ages, it's not a great idea. But it is incredibly painful to see what a great father he is, and to know that we can't do that together. The idea of having a child that is not his is emotionally painful on a level I can't describe. I wish I would turn off this urge to have children and go back to the way I was before. I was so happy. My life is really good now. I don't want to leave, to try to start all over again. I love him. I don't even know if I could physically conceive anyway. I'm healthy, but perhaps my age will be a problem. But I'm fearful that this urge will get worse and worse as I age. Is it worth leaving behind someone I love so dearly to throw it all to chance? I don't want to raise a child alone, and perhaps that in and of itself means I'm not cut out to be a mother if I can't make that sacrifice. We've talked about this before, but I'm putting off the big conversation because it feels like a point of no return if I do. I'm also still trying to pass these emotions boiling up inside me. I have tried brushing them off as just hormones, and they probably are, but I can't stop them from bubbling back up over and over again. I don't have a therapist, and while I guess I could hire one specifically to discuss this, in the end I think they are just going to tell me I have to make a difficult decision, which I already know. I'm angry at myself for having these feelings. Where the heck was this urge years ago when I could have made different decisions? I thought I knew I didn't want to have kids. I really did. I don't know what I expect in posting this, but I'm hopeful that someone who's gone through this kind of situation before can chime in. Thanks for reading. Edit. Thank you everyone for your comments. I'm still going through them all. I had a tough chat with my significant other about my turmoil, so to speak. He's understanding and wants me to be happy, though obviously having a kid he doesn't want isn't really on the table in terms of making me happy, lol. And to be fair, I'm trying to figure out what the heck is going on with these feelings anyway, and how real they are. Sometimes life, and hormones apparently, are kind of crappy like this. I've got some soul searching to do. Here's the first comment. You need to tease out baby fever from I want to raise a child, as the two are very different things. Baby fever passes, may come back at times, but is really more of an evolutionary thing. It doesn't really stick. However, the want to raise a child from birth to adulthood is very different. You recognize the commitment and work needed, but feel good with making that choice. Once you tease that out, then you also need to ask yourself some other questions, which, when you reflect years down the road, will cause you more heartache. Choosing not to experience parenthood, or feeling regret over giving up the life you love with this man. I recognize it isn't an easy soul search. It is understandable that right now, with questioning this potential change of heart, you would only want his baby. However, he's made it clear he isn't wanting to start over, and you sound very understanding. I would also recommend asking your gyno about any fertility testing that could be available to you. Having that answer may also guide your feelings and choice. If your body is past fertility, then perhaps the decision was made for you. If your fertility is in tip-top condition, that may help you tease out baby fever from a true change of heart. Here's the next comment. I totally feel your pain. Never wanted kids, but sometimes I worry that feeling will change when I enter my 30s. My advice is to talk to your partner about it directly instead of worrying what he will say. Ultimately, you may have to choose between being with him and having your own children. But I will say, if your biggest reason for wanting children now is to experience parenthood with him, because you love him so much, I feel like there's your answer right there. Seems like the hormonal impulse may pass, but your love for him and enjoyment of your relationship will endure. Easier said than done, but don't overthink it. Here's the next comment. I knew forever, since I was 5, I didn't want to have kids. When I turned 30, I suddenly got baby fever, and it was so bizarre. I started romanticizing having a baby. When I saw a mom with a young child, I would fantasize about how I would raise my own kids. Lasted for a while. I started seriously thinking about having a baby, which made no sense for me. Then I was around a friend with 3 small children running around the house, and I saw up close how exhausting it was, and the wear and tear on her, and all of a sudden, the desires went away. I don't want to raise kids. I commend those who do. And even though she was at the end of her rope at times, she wouldn't trade it for the world. Maybe try being around someone with young kids and see how you feel when you see what it's like in the day-to-day and you can't romanticize the idea of it. Here's the next comment. Honestly, you need to do some very serious soul searching to parse out whether it's baby fever or the actual desire to raise a kid, come what may. I'll share some context so you know where I'm coming from, as it might help you. My and my BFF are similar in age to you now. A few years ago, we both started feeling that baby interest. While it fueled me to take online dating more seriously, it has led to her being paralyzed, questioning what she wants. Why? Because she's in a very stable 10-year relationship with a man in his 50s who already has grown kids. And while he had said he was willing to go down that path again, he's now infertile due to health issues. Completely. Doctor confirmed. We touch bases on this because, let's be real, after being an independent adult for so long, the idea of upending everything and starting a family is really intimidating, and we talk about stuff like that. While I'm in a position of dating trying to find my partner, she's now in the same position that you are of trying to figure out how much being a mom is important to her, and if it's more important than her partner and the future she'd have with him. She hasn't decided yet, because it's a heck of a decision, but know that you aren't alone in having to make it in your mid-30s during a pandemic. I'm lucky that I had some experiences that reinforced the idea that starting a family is very important to me. Knowing that there's a timer on it sucks, but I've managed to get to a place mentally where, if it doesn't happen, I'll be sad, but will feel good knowing that I tried to find a mature equal to raise a kid with and that it just didn't work out. Here's the next comment. I just want to empathize. I feel similarly. I never wanted kids until I was 35 either, and I started spending time with a newer friend and her wonderful family. And I really wanted that family vibe and loved her kids. But my fiance is 10 years older than me and felt he was too old to want to start having a family. Ultimately, I ended up staying with him. But I still feel sad sometimes. Prior to COVID, I started volunteering to be a baby snuggler at the hospital. Babies born with opioids who need contact, and I volunteered with a kid mentoring program. Not at all the same, but it took the edge off. My brother and his wife just became parents at 42 after years of fertility issues and couldn't be happier or more tired. So you still have time. Anyway, I don't have advice to offer, but if you ever want to talk about it with someone who understands, I'm here. Story number 2. Am I being irrational for being upset with my boyfriend, 33 male, of 4.5 years, telling me he's been with hotter women than me, 25 female? A few months ago, my boyfriend of 4.5 years and I went camping. We stayed up late, took a small amount of MDMA, and went for a long walk on the beach. I guess the MDMA made us a little more open than usual, and we were having very honest conversations about things we don't usually discuss in our relationship. The topic moved to our sexual histories, which is something we haven't gone into too much detail of in the past. My boyfriend revealed to me the true number of people he'd slept with, 52. He had told me in the past it was 42. Apparently, he was ashamed. Now this doesn't bother me, but he went on to say that he had slept with some extremely hot girls, but that he is happy with me or something like that. The way he said it almost sounded like he was slightly bragging, and since it was implied, I couldn't stop myself from asking him, hotter than me? He looked me in the eyes and told me sincerely, yes. When he told me this, I felt so small I could have fallen through the earth. When we were first dating, my boyfriend was totally infatuated with me. He told me multiple times that I was the hottest / most beautiful girl he'd ever been with. I felt naive for believing those words and felt like I'd been lied to and that he'd maybe said that just to make me like him. I'm very insecure about the way I look. I know I'm not the most beautiful girl in the world. I have flaws. I consider myself to be average looking. I have always had self-esteem issues regarding my appearance. I'm recovering from eating disorders, and to be honest, when I met my boyfriend, the way he made me feel with all his praise for my appearance made me feel so special and validated, and it was one of the reasons I fell for him. Out of 52 women, I'm sure it's true that some of them were better looking than me, but I would rather not know he thinks that. I tried not to show how hurt I was. After all, I did ask the question. But after a while, I couldn't hold it, and I told him that I know he was just being honest, but it really hurt me to know that he felt that way. He asked me if I had been with hotter guys than him. Honestly, yes. However, I would never have said that to him, because I think it is cruel. Since he had been so brutally honest with me though, I told him that I had been with good looking people too, but that in my eyes he is the most beautiful person I have been with. It's the truth. Because I love him. The night went on and was pleasant apart from that, but the following days I just could not get what he told me out of my head, and I couldn't stop crying about it. He noticed my low mood and asked me about it, and I told him that what he'd said made me feel so terrible and insecure about myself. He apologized and said that he didn't mean to hurt me. He reassured me that he finds me beautiful. When I asked him why he told me I was the most beautiful girl he'd been with all those years ago, he couldn't answer, but he got annoyed that I implied he was lying. Time went on, but I couldn't, and still can't, stop thinking about it. I have brought it up a couple of times since then, but now if I bring it up, he gets annoyed at me because he said sorry, and I'm just trying to make him feel bad. He thinks I'm being petty. I don't want to keep bringing it up, but the truth is I'm still very hurt by what he said, and it's seriously affecting my self-esteem. I don't think he genuinely understands how it's affected me. My eating disorder habits have been triggered again, and sometimes when I do feel confident about myself, I think about this, and it makes me feel small again. I have always found it very hard to love myself, but this relationship made me feel validated, but after these incidents it just feels like I'm back at the bottom again. I'm considering getting lip fillers, because I feel like they are my weakest feature, and it would make me look prettier. This exacerbated an insecurity that had already been bubbling away for a while now. My boyfriend, in the past, had a secret habit of following social media profiles and saving pics of erotic models. I discovered this about a year into our relationship when I looked at who he followed on Instagram and noticed several accounts of super hot adult actress style Instagram models. I brought it up to him and told him it made me feel insecure to see him actively looking / fantasizing about these women that I can't possibly compete with. He apologized for hurting me and unfollowed them and deleted the pics. I thought that was the end of it. However, a few months before the camping trip, I caught him at it again. He was showing me something on Instagram when his feed refreshed and a photo of a woman posing in lingerie he was following came up. He tried to hide it, but I asked him what was that, and he sheepishly showed me. It was a very beautiful influencer model that he follows, who posts provocative pics of herself in various states of undress. She is everything I'm not: blonde, skinny, big boobs and a perfect flawless face. Naturally, I was upset and hurt that he had done this again, after I had explicitly told him in the past how much it hurt me. He had the nerve to try to BS me that he was only following for the artistic photography, but I'm not a moron. I was upset for hours and he didn't unfollow her until I explicitly told him that it would be the least he could do. I'm not mad at him for finding pretty girls pretty, but it feels like he is taking more than a fleeting interest in them by actively subscribing to that content, and it makes me extremely uncomfortable. I know he would hate it if I was doing something similar. The thing that upsets me the most is that these photos set an impossible standard I cannot live up to. They are clearly photoshopped, waists pulled in, skin airbrushed, with flattering poses and lighting, and also this girl has openly had cosmetic surgery on her face and body. This, and the comment he made about having been with better looking women, totally shattered any confidence I'd built up. I felt like he was indirectly saying he finds me unattractive in some ways, and I don't know how I can overcome that. He apologized more than once, but it hasn't made me feel any better about the whole thing. I don't think he understands what he needs to apologize for. When I told him that I could never look like those girls, he took it to mean that I wanted to. He said if I just worked out a bit and wasn't as lazy, I could look like them too. I don't think that's fair, because these girls have often had cosmetic surgery, spend a huge amount of money on their appearance, have been photoshopped, and are only showing the best and most poised images of themselves. I do put effort into my appearance, and while it's true I should exercise more, I still wouldn't be able to compete with these perfect women. I'm not obese, I'm just not skinny. He has been aware of my eating disorder for a long time. At the time I weighed about 12 pounds less now, than I did when we first met, and he knows I'm self-conscious of this. He knows why I was thinner then. What I'm hearing is, if I could just lose weight then I would be perfect like them. He also became frustrated that I keep bringing this up, and counteracted by telling me about a moment in our relationship where I really hurt him. A couple of years ago we went traveling in Asia. I had already been there for 2 weeks with my friends, and he was supposed to meet me there. On the day he was supposed to arrive, I had been up very early to travel to this place. I was very tired, and I accidentally fell asleep in the hotel. I overslept and was not where I was supposed to be to meet him when he arrived. When I woke up to find out he'd already arrived, I knew I badly fricked up, but it was a genuine mistake. I tried desperately to find a way to get there as soon as possible, but I couldn't. There was other problems like my friend, whose apartment I was supposed to be at to meet him, was very sick that day, and had also passed, and was unable to be reached, and also it was very difficult to get a taxi around where I was staying. I know he was understandably very upset about this, as he had just traveled for about 20 hours to see me, and I had fallen asleep through his arrival, and he was waiting around in the middle of nowhere in a very foreign country. I felt absolutely awful, and repeatedly profusely apologized, but he has never been able to forgive me. He thinks that I did not care enough to make the effort to meet him. When he brought this up again, he implied he was worried that I might have cheated on him in the 2 weeks I'd been without him, which is totally unfair, because I have never even come close to cheating on him. I don't even flirt with other people, and I make a point, if necessary, to politely reject any guys who try to pick me up. I have always fully respected him in that regard. We went for longer periods than usual without messaging, because there was a major time difference, and I was out doing stuff every day and evening, and didn't often have Wi-Fi. We still talked every day. I still feel bad about this incident, however I feel like it is completely unrelated to this, and unfair to hold against me, as this was a genuine innocent mistake, and while I'm sorry I hurt him, I didn't deliberately wrong him. I don't see why he would throw in the cheating suspicion, other than that he has been cheated on, and been the cheater, in his past relationships. But nothing I've ever done in our relationship should have given him the impression that I've not stayed 100% faithful to him. Sometimes, I think of this randomly, and it puts me in a bad mood with him. I subconsciously become a bit more impatient and grumpier with him than I should, and we argue more often than before. Other times when he is making me feel sexy and wanted, I think back to this, and it brings me down again, and I find it harder to enjoy his affection, because I start feeling self-conscious and inadequate. There was a time he would make me feel genuinely, unconditionally loved and secure. But these incidents have planted a seed of doubt for me, and I can't help but wonder what other things he's said to me that weren't true. I want to be able to move on from this, because I do love him, and we have shared a significant part of our lives together. I genuinely love him. He has expressed that he wants us to spend the rest of our lives together, and I would like that too, but I don't know how to though, because I can't get over the insecurity it's stirred up, and I find it hard to forgive him. All of this makes me feel like I cannot live up to the standard of woman he wants. Here's the first comment. Red flag number 1. Looking at hot Photoshop models isn't the problem. Comparing you to them is. You don't have to be the hottest person someone has ever seen to have a healthy relationship with them. Good relationships are based on personalities, not looks. It's okay if he gets pleasure from looking at unrealistically hot women. It's not okay for him to expect you to live up to those standards. He needs to tell you he loves you for you, not for your body. Red flag 2. Is that you both seem unable to forgive each other and move past things. He hasn't forgiven you for failing to meet him, and you haven't forgiven him for saying he slept with hotter women in the past. Here's the next comment. He thinks 52 would scare you off, so he lied by saying 42? That's extremely weird. Listen, no one should ever tell their significant other that they've dated or slept with someone hotter. It's a crappy thing to say. When your significant other knows you have an eating disorder, telling you that you could be skinnier if you were less lazy is an attack on your health. Eating disorders have the highest mortality rate of any mental illness. They are life-threatening. You're simply not safe dating a man who tells you to lose weight and deliberately triggers your ED like that. Here's the next comment. The only red flag issue for me in all this is how he suggested you work out. Although, I think it's more motivated by his interpretation that he thinks you want to look more like a model on Instagram and less with his desire for you to look like that. Either way, he definitely needs to be more mindful about how he expresses himself to anyone, but particularly someone he loves and knows is insecure and has a history of eating disorders might interpret a comment like that. Now, while your boyfriend definitely needs some lessons on being more sensitive and thoughtful in exactly what/how he shares with you, there is definitely some of this that you need to own. I wouldn't go as far to say it's irrational. You feel how you feel, and as a woman that has struggled with weight and self-love my whole life, I genuinely understand. However, you asked him a question. He answered honestly. He did not, in my opinion, indicate that he was not attracted to you, or that he did not genuinely find you beautiful. Likely, much in the same way that you think he is very handsome or the most handsome, because of your feelings for him, might be similar for him with you. Regardless, your insecurity and happiness are your responsibility, not his. You must take ownership of your insecurities or they will always be a problem for your relationship. The best and only advice I can give you is to consider seeking therapy to address your insecurities and self-love issues. That is the only thing that has ever allowed me to have a healthy and mature relationship, by taking ownership of my own insecurities and self-love. I really had to learn to love myself before I was able to have a healthy relationship. I wish you both the best of luck. Don't forget you are beautiful and deserving of good love, but it must start with yourself. Sending internet hugs. Thanks for listening.